What's going on, hospitalitarians? This is Kyle from HospitalityMD, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. Before we get started, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications for the channel, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. Now, this week is a special bonus episode. This time I'm on the other side of the mic, and I'm actually being interviewed by Niki Wade and Robin Moncrief, the ladies of the Don't Look Under the Bed, a hospitality podcast. This is actually my second time on the show, and Robin was actually had the foresight to record the video portion of this, and she was able to send it to me, and now we're uploading it. So go check out Don't Look Under the Bed, a hospitality podcast. Niki and Robin are amazing people. In this episode, we talk about my two biggest takeaways in my career and what I learned from the podcast. We talk about Hurricane Ida and serving evacuees. We talk about my opinion on price gouging and the morality of raising rates during a high demand period of crisis, among so many other things. You guys are going to love this. So stick around, enjoy, and I'll see you at the end of the video.
Boom.
Welcome to Don't Look Under the Bed. I'm Robin.
And I'm Niki.
And
I'm
today, yes, you are, Kyle. We have our friend of the show, Kyle Allison, back with us to chop it up. We got sort of a Don't Look Under the Bed, Hospitality MD mashup going on, and we're going to talk all things hospitality. Kyle, it's so good to have you back with us.
I'm so excited to be here. I miss you both. It's crazy how circumstances change so much in just a couple of months. So, but yeah, I'm just happy to be here. I love you guys. So thanks for having me.
We love you too.
Yes.
First and foremost, we need to talk about Kyle because, first of all, Kyle is not only like a top hospitalitarian, he's a filmmaker, general manager. He has had and has access to all of the top thought leaders in hospitality. I mean, you're kind of like Forrest Gump here, bro.
Including you two. You guys are top
my
thought
gosh.
leaders. Seriously. I mean that.
Man, listen, I just have a question. So you have had access and have spoken to, any and everybody in the business. And I don't want you to single anybody out, but what has been maybe like the one or two nuggets that you've gotten, like just some sage advice from one of the people that you've spoken to?
Great question. So I'm going to just pull from like my most recent interview that as of this recording date hasn't dropped yet, but maybe by the time this drops, it'll be out. But I just did. And I think you guys actually just did an interview with him too, Dr. Jeffrey O. So love him. Like he is awesome. Like, seriously, probably one of like the top 5 conversations I've ever had in my life. Quite frankly.
Seriously.
Wow.
It's true.
So
agreed.
Yeah, like we were taught, it was like such like a philosophical conversation on hospitality. I really, really, really loved it. But one of the things that he put into words that I just really liked in terms of just like a phrase that I will be using, and like, it's not like it's the most original idea or original nugget, I guess, but it resonated with me, which is that hospitality is a noble profession.
Yeah.
That's just, I agree completely, and I think that actually, I didn't plan this, but I think that's actually a good, it connects to what we're going to be talking about today with the storm and everything like that. Hospitality is such a noble profession. And then we asked the question, why is it such a noble profession? Well, look at everything that we do in hospitality and its impact on the community and on people's lives. So, so yeah, that's been one of the biggest nuggets. And then of course I will also kind of channel Craig Poole as well, who's like my boy.
Yeah.
I can't wait for you to meet him.
Yeah, he's
Robin.
amazing.
And his big nugget is that hotels are more than just a cash flow; they're a major part of the community. And I think those are the two things that, you know, I think they're both kind of interconnected. They're both hand in hand with each other. But once we start thinking about our hotels as more than a cash flow and as an integral cornerstone of the community, and then so we think of that, the asset is that, and then we think about our jobs as noble professions, I think we'll all be much better than we are today. So those are the two nuggets that I'll share.
I love that. Fun fact, and I don't know if you know this or not, Kyle, but Jeffrey and I actually work together.
What? I did not know that.
Yes. Yes. And so I absolutely adore him. And he is just as humble as he ever was. He's the most humble person I've ever met in my entire life. Honestly,
Did you work with him at like Remington or where?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we worked on
sweet.
property together. Yeah. Yeah. So
really?
Yes.
On property. So you guys really know each other then.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that is so
I feel
cool.
like it was just like when we talked to him, I'm sitting over here fangirling like, oh my God, Jeffrey. You know? like I didn't see him every day, but he's such a presence. And he's like one of those people, he moves in silence, but you know he's there. You know what I'm saying? He's amazing. So I'm anxious to hear your interview. Our interview with him drops tomorrow, which is Monday the 13th. So so you'll hear him.
I'll definitely
tomorrow.
be tuning into that one. That's that.
Yeah.
I mean, that man he's smart.
He really is. And in that interview, that was my first kind of like exposure to him. I didn't know him when he was here in the city, but it's like when you think about having somebody like that walking around, leading the team, like just spreading that, you know, we spoke with him for like 30, 45 minutes. And I was like, wow, you know, imagine coming into a building and you're getting that every day. You know,
that's actually a really good like sentiment that I guess I maybe didn't fully consider after I was talking. Like, take this same candor, same demeanor, same way of being, and then put that into a hotel setting where you're on property with a team. And I mean, I'm sure Robin, you probably are like, yes, 100%, like that same energy was translated. And I'm sure you guys did great. I don't know, was he the GM when you worked
Yes,
together?
he was the general manager.
Okay.
Yes.
So you had this GM who's just got this certain
he was the first person I saw every
I
morning. He was in the lobby at 6:45, 7 a.m. and just right there at the front desk, and just all the way around. In the restaurant, he was just present, and he was greeting guests. Everybody knew who he was. Again, he was amazing. Yeah.
And that's something that we
amazing.
talked about a little bit, was like, you know, the further up you go, and then especially when he got into the corporate office and everything like that, like, you know, you get further and further away from like your why you actually started out doing hospitality in the first place.
It's true.
And you know, he mentioned a story about how like he came to visit one of the hotels in the portfolio as he was in the corporate office, and he got there and he just couldn't help but stand in the lobby and shake hands and greet guests and do all that kind of stuff. And then all the people on the team were like, that's my job, man. Like, what are you doing? But I think it's just like, you have to give that to yourself if you really, and I think like that's the difference between somebody like Dr. Jeffrey O, who's like, it's in him, so like he literally is compelled to do these sort of things as coming from the corporate office to the hotel, versus some of these other like losers from the corporate office who come in and like they're literally like almost like hopefully somebody doesn't sense that I'm with the company. And they're kind
Exactly.
of put their head
Right.
Yeah.
like, it's like, so two completely different schools of thought. And I'm sure that would, I'm sure we could do a whole case study on the results of the company and everything
Yeah.
when you have different leaders like that. But
Mhm.
anyway, Dr. Jeffrey O, if you're listening to this, we just gassed you up for like 10 minutes. Man.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
You got three fans.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Seriously. We're fighting to be the president of Jeffrey O fan club.
I'm on
So when we
shirts.
talk about hospitality being a noble profession, 30 something years ago when I was at the front desk, I didn't think that. I was just trying to get a job inside. And for me, it was just a job. So at what point is it a noble profession? Is it, when you get your first job? I mean, how does that go? What does that look like?
Niki, what do you think?
I was gonna say, I don't think until you're in the situation.
Mhm.
And you're able to impact somebody's I don't want to say their life, but you're able to impact that. And like when you're dealing with a group meeting,
Mhm.
you're there to deliver the hotel and present the experience, but you're also there to make sure that meeting planner looks like a rock star.
Yeah.
And so it's when for me, it's when that meeting planner or that guest turns around and lets you know how what you did impacted them,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
like I would always say, when someone who like a colleague or a teammate, when they recognize what you've done, because
Mhm.
they know what it takes.
Mhm.
They know what it takes to get the job done. When they're able to turn around and pat you on the back and say, hey, you did that, or great job, or, whatever it looks like, to me, that's when I feel like I'm at the top of my game. When somebody
Mhm.
who knows the ins and outs can turn to me and say, you know what, you did that, or you made it happen, or
Mhm.
that customer comes back and says, oh, I didn't know, but you were there and you made it happen. So
Yeah.
it's yeah, I never thought of it as a noble profession, but every
Right.
now and then you have those moments.
Mhm.
Maybe you're
Yeah.
called out to the front desk to deal with someone who's screaming their heads off.
Yeah.
And they're bringing you out hoping you can do something, and you get to interact with.
That's right. That is usually your job. You usually go in and diffuse those situations.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, I got nothing, but let me see what I can do.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like, I remember Marriott talking about spirit to serve. And so I
Mhm.
guess it's at those times when you make a difference and you are serving the guest or your client or meeting planner, where you're like, you know what, I did do something kind of cool and I am making a difference and people appreciate me, for what I've done or for my input or whatever. What are you thinking, Kyle?
So like this is one thing that like I'll kind of recycle this sentiment from what I shared with Dr. Jeffrey O, which was that I believe that there's nobility in doing any job and doing it right. Because the way that we kind of had this conversation was like, Dr. Jeffrey O, he's CEO of the International Hospitality Institute. He's put the code of conduct out there for like really making like a huge impact.
Mhm.
And then like, maybe me on a lesser scale, but like, I have a decent audience and I try and make an impact and I try and do what I can. And somebody might look at any of us really and just say, well, yeah, it's noble when you guys are doing it because you have these big impacts. But the for me, I think like, and hospitality or not, there's a level of nobility in being assigned to do a job and actually doing that job. Because there's nobility. And I think the example I used with Jeffrey was if you're a line cook and somebody is hungry after a long day and you cook them a meal that doesn't get them sick and they enjoy it and they go to bed with a full stomach, that is very noble. That is so noble to do that for somebody, because you're fueling them so they can sustain life for another day. So I think there's nobility in just doing your job, quite frankly. But I really think that, again, like when you think about the hotel as more than a cash flow, but an integral asset for the community and the social fabric of the place that you live, then I think that immediately makes every second of every day that you're in your hotel noble, because you are doing your part to perpetuate this this piece of the community that they can't live without, quite frankly.
Right.
And we see that in times of crisis, that that it's obvious in times of crisis. Maybe it's less obvious when it's just routine and you have people coming and staying and checking out, and because a well-run hotel is very systemized. You should feel like you're in a routine, and maybe you lose that sense of nobility. But then when something catastrophic happens or something out of the norm, then maybe you remind yourself a little bit. For me, it was, when I was in Chicago and we had the like looting that happened after George Floyd passed away in my hotel. Did I ever tell you guys that story?
Yes.
I don't know if I did. Yeah. So we had all that happen, and we had the police and the protesters using the hotel to find safety and refuge. I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. Everybody from different sizes coming together to seek refuge at this hotel. When they were in trouble, they looked to the beacon of hospitality in the community, and they came there, and it didn't matter who you were at that time. So that's like one of the big moments for me. And then, like, with you guys most recently with, Hurricane Ida, I'm sure you also felt the same way.
Yeah. So right before Ida swept ashore in Louisiana, we started getting all the phone calls. Do you have availability? Do you have availability? So we did, and we took in about say 50, 60 rooms we had available for people coming in from Louisiana. And they stayed maybe 2 weeks, I want to say. So they came in a couple of days before the storm actually hit. And
this was families that were coming in?
They were families, yeah. So we had families coming in. So we had 5, 6 people in a studio suite, pets and all. Multi-generation families. And okay, we're still in a pandemic.
Right.
So we're welcoming in all these guests. So as we sell out, we sold out, I want to say, for 6 days straight, at 100%. And like I said, we're full. So you have to consider staff. You have to consider the food, because we serve breakfast in the morning, and supplies, towels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm literally, I'm like,
That-
wait, 6 days straight. I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa, we can't do that.
Yeah. So
no one wants to hear about towels.
yeah, nobody wants to hear about towels. And I spoke to Lily the other day down at Le Meridian, and she's also looking for a shampoo and conditioner, because they're out there too.
Yeah.
So just thinking about supplies and just being prepared. So as we prepare, with all the stuff, we have to prepare mentally too, because we are taking in families. People are stressed out and they need stuff. And, we just had to have a huddle every day just to remind people, hey, these folks are coming in during a national, natural disaster, and we need to take a little more time with them, show some empathy, show some compassion, explain the policy about the debit cards, explain about not having housekeeping service every day. I mean, so it's an education for the traveler so that there are no surprises. If we needed to go to Walmart or Costco or Sam's or whatever to buy more waffles or whatever, it's like, that's what we need to do. But let's be prepared to welcome in these guests. So we did. And for the most part, it was fine. I mean, but the towel situation was a big deal, because you have, again, 5 people in the room and everybody needs towels and we don't have any.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like, okay, I need you to
Mhm.
give me the towels in your room
Right.
so that I can go wash them and bring them back. So we had that. But, again, it was, again, when you think about Noble, we were providing shelter for these families. And, my heart went out to everybody that was impacted, because they had no idea what they were going to be going back to. So while they were in the hotel, I tried everything I could just to make sure that they were seen, they were comfortable, and, that we were, providing the hospitality that they deserved.
And you're the director of sales, but you're actually
Correct.
actively doing stuff like
Yes.
in the hotel, because I think
Yes.
that's pretty relevant.
Yeah.
Like basically like all hands on deck, because
All hands on deck.
All hands on
normally
deck.
Yeah.
it would be like, oh, the director of sales, like you might know that there's a problem with the towels, but you might, you know what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah.
might get wind of that, but like maybe
Yeah.
you're not experiencing it firsthand, but you were actually like the waffles, like that was a you problem. The towels, that was a you problem.
Yeah, I just want to make
Everything
sure
was a you
everything was
problem because
there.
you're a part
Yeah.
of the team, right?
Correct. Yes,
Well,
our
and-
general manager is amazing, and she, she made sure that everything, that all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. And it's just like, what do we need to do? Because it's go time, and we need to just make sure these folks are taken care of and that we do not miss a beat.
Yeah.
So,
And I think too, I've, like Robin, you've worked through hurricane situations. I've worked through enough of them. When you're in a hurricane situation, there's a lot to unpack,
mhm.
and it happens really fast. But what made this even extra was the fact that a lot of these hotels aren't fully staffed. We aren't fully staffed. We
Right.
don't have the housekeeping, the
Mhm.
numbers
Mhm.
of housekeeping and housemen. Like we had enough to deal with the business we were doing,
Mhm.
but now you have this influx of guests, and as Robin said, families of 7, 6, 7, 8 people with pets coming in. And we normally put enough towels for 4 people
4 people. Yeah.
and in a room. Well, now they're requesting towels for 7. So it was towels. When I say nobody wanted to hear about towels, that situation was, I mean, you just think about it. It's tough. You have
Yeah.
your lot of towels for this many guest rooms.
Mhm.
You only have this many housekeepers.
Mhm.
So now, and it's go time. So
Yeah.
you're trying to make it happen. And again, I think knowing that everybody deserves grace at this
Yeah.
point, because
Yeah.
people are just getting back to work or they're still not working. Now they've had to evacuate. Who
Mhm.
knows what they came from, what they'll be going back
Yeah.
into. And then even for like government funding, it takes a minute for that to kick
Yeah.
in.
It
So
does.
maybe they're paying out of pocket,
Mhm.
for these.
For
So
sure. Yeah.
yeah. So there's a lot of anxiety,
Yeah. Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
Just and it comes fast.
It does come at you fast.
It comes at you super
Yeah.
fast. And I always say with hurricane evacuation type situations, there's always 2 guests. There's the guest that comes a couple days before it hits,
Mhm.
and then there's the ones that were rescued that comes after it hits.
Mm.
So that's a different scenario
Yeah.
altogether. So
Mhm.
it's, everybody's walking around on 10
Mhm.
at that point. But like Robin said, it's all hands on deck. Everyone's involved. What can I do? How can I help? Let me explain this debit card policy, because that's a big one. That is a big one. I tell
Yeah.
people don't ever give a hotel your debit card. Just save yourself. Don't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a lot. It's
Yeah.
a lot. And
I found
Well,
that to
and
be
some
the
people may not
biggest.
even have credit cards, like, because, if you're coming from like a location that, and again, I'm not so familiar with, New Orleans or anything like that, but from what I've seen, it doesn't appear to be like the wealthiest community or anything like that. So some people may not even have another option other than a debit card, or like
Mhm.
sometimes people may not even have a debit card. They
Right,
might
that's
have
true
like a
too.
preloaded
right.
like a
Like,
Cash App card or a Chime or something like
Mhm.
that, where you
Mhm.
can just load a certain amount of money
Yeah.
on there.
mhm.
So it's like, and I can only imagine, like, for them, it's like you have this money, it's like a finite amount of money, and then it's like, wait, we're gonna give this to you, and you're gonna do what with it?
Yeah.
You're
And you're
gonna
gonna
take it,
hold it. And that
then it
was the
might take
biggest.
7 business days for it to come back. Like,
Yeah.
That's it.
holy crap! Like, I mean, I get it, I really do.
Yeah.
Because I can only imagine, like, it's like there's I can't remember like if there's a saying for it or anything, but like they say like grandmas and grandpas who lived during like World War II or something like that, and post World War II, they had to ration everything because of the war. So now if they're still alive or whatever, they kind of hoard a lot of things
Yeah.
because they're so used to, like, you don't know when you're going to be able to get another resource.
Mhm.
And I kind of feel like it's the same way with people who are evacuating a situation where they,
Yeah.
again, like you said, don't know what they're going to come back to or what the situation is going to be like. So if you have your debit card or your prepaid card or whatever, and you have a finite amount of money on it, like, you don't know when the next time you're going to get another deposit,
Yeah.
coming into
Right.
that card. So I can only imagine that they might want to just hoard that, and like they're apprehensive to just give that away and trust that in 7 business days they're going to get that back. Or
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, it's tough, right?
Even in 7 business days, like, just like you just explained that to us, and we're agreeing, we understand, we
Mhm.
get it. So imagine you've got your prepaid card or you've got your debit card. You check in, your rate's 120, let's just say $100, make it easy. Your rate's $100. We're going to take $50 a day for incidentals. So if you're staying for 3 days, I've now had to process on your card 300 for the stay and another 150 in incidentals. So we're at 450 is what I have on your card.
Yeah.
Now you go to check out. So that's your money. I've got $450 of your money. 3 days go by, you go to check out. You're like, where's my $150? You checked out, we released the hold. It may take your bank anywhere from 3 to 7 business days to give you your money back. So now a week, you have to wait a whole week to get your $150 back. For some people, that's just enough to tip the scale.
Mhm. Mhm. I
Uh-oh.
think you're on mute, Kyle.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now. Yes. Yes.
Sorry, somebody's playing ping pong outside this door, and I'm like, so I'm trying to make sure that when I'm not talking, I put myself on
Oh,
mute.
okay.
So,
No, you're good.
but what is that $150? That's gas
Yeah.
money to go
Right.
and get home. Like,
Food,
that's
yeah, everything.
food to feed your family. That's like bare minimum, like essentials for some people. I think,
Mhm.
did you just say that's enough to tip the scale for some people?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
is,
totally
yeah.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
it's
can
like,
tell you
that's-
that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say that's what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that we had a great week, and we, like I said, we welcomed the families in, made them feel comfortable, explained to them the policy, and I think just for them not having surprises and just having somebody see them and not treat them like they were, I don't know, evacuees, but just treat them like people who are just, are saving their families' lives, getting out of there, just treating them with respect and dignity, and providing a safe space for them. It was great. The only issue that we had were, some of the pets were a little, the pets were in shock. So of course they were doing whatever they needed to do, wherever they needed to do it. But for the families themselves, I mean, I went around, we all went around at breakfast time to make sure there was, enough stuff. The kids were having a ball making their own waffles, and running around the hotel and in the pool. And so when the kids are happy and adjusted, they're not stressed out, which means the parents are not stressed out. The parents are like, okay, this is what we're going to do for next couple of days. The kids are going on about their business. I did have to chase a couple of them though down the hallway. They were knocking on doors at 7 a.m. and running.
That's
Well,
awesome.
you should have told them to pick up a board, because if only people are going to be knocking on doors are going to be room attendants to see if you checked out. Because we need those rooms back.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I thought was awesome, and because it just really, the spirit of the people. Like there was these 4 ladies, they sat in the same area of the lobby, and they would just drink their coffee and talk every morning.
Yeah.
So I would stop by and visit with them, as I was coming in the morning, and they'd be there. Like it was their, they would be there and they'd be having a good time. And then because we're in Residence Inn and you have the kitchenettes in your room, the smells in the hallway.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my, like what is going on? It's like a restaurant in this place. So just really, it was a good week. And, those situations, it can be tough. It can really be tough.
It can be tough on the staff and for the guest, but if you have the right mindset, everybody, the people became family, for that 2 weeks or 7 days or whatever that they were there. And they knew that, that we were looking out for them and concerned, for them.
Yeah, it's interesting how people will make a routine so quickly and like so easily adapted as like human beings. Like whatever you can do to find like some sort of comfort in the situation that you're in. Like I feel like we're very good at doing that as humans. So like just finding a little cozy corner in the lobby to sip your coffee in the morning, just to get out of like the 4 walls of your room and like be with people in a different environment. That's like, that's a routine. Or gathering everybody to make some food in your room, which I mean, I'm sure people were being creative and like, cause like you're getting like one little burner, right? In Residence Inn from what I can remember.
I think you get 2. You get 2.
Yeah, there's 2.
Like a stovetop. Yeah.
Like an electric stovetop.
Yes. Yeah.
So you get this little electric stovetop and you've probably got a strainer and some other pots and stuff in there. And people are, going crazy. It sounds like making some great food. Like, there's some definite creativity there, which is awesome. And people still trying to find a way to eat good, to socialize, to not just be like depressed completely throughout this entire experience, which I think is just awesome. And like you said, Niki, like the spirit of the people is just great.
I'm going to shake the table just a little bit. Because ahead of this storm, you have all the suits sitting in their offices trying to figure out, okay, where are the people going to go? Yes, they're going to come. They always come to their neighbors to the west, Houston. And you have all the revenue management teams and everybody looking to say, okay, what are we doing with the rates? Is it hospitality? If you increase the rate ahead of the storm so that you can capture the revenue?
Yeah.
Now that's the question.
Yeah. And Texas they're real firm on price gouging. So that's, it's like it has a lid on it, because they're really firm on that. But yeah, that's then there's that part. That's
I mean, I've seen everything. I mean, and they didn't go up a lot. So I, like in my area, for instance, the rate was maybe pre Hurricane Ida, maybe 95. And then it went up to maybe like 125, 130 in some cases. But why?
Yeah. Opportunity.
Yeah, like I'm really trying to think about this one because like
Yeah.
to a certain extent there is a right, that, and what you said seems to be true. If you're sitting there in the corporate office, or at least, you might not know, but you should probably be calling the GM or the director. Somebody should be calling somebody on the property to figure this out. But you probably at some point come to the conclusion that there's going to be 7-8 people inside of a room. So maybe that is a relevant and valid reason to increase the rate a little bit to accommodate that, because the $95 is,
right,
that you're getting somebody who's probably going to sleep on one half of the bed and use the shower and leave the next day. But if you are going to be having somebody who's really going to be stretching the limits of the product and the services provided at the hotel, and you're making exceptions, because normally, like, it doesn't matter the room, it's probably a 4-person maximum occupancy. So if this, I think that could be a justifiable reason to increase the rate within a reasonable boundary, right? If it's increasing $300, well, I don't think that's worth the extra 3 or 4 people that might be in that room. But $20 or $30 might be justified in that.
I like it.
So
I like it. Okay. Good answer.
That's a
Come on, Kyle.
a good way to
that's
look
my
at
political
it.
that's my political answer. If I
No,
was
I like it.
office,
No,
that's
and
what
it
I
makes perfect sense, because trust me, the kids were wearing that waffle machine out, and that's okay, because they don't get to do that at home. So it was something, for them to do. And you're right. Just number one, demand on the rooms, obviously, and then like you said, 6-7 people in a room, and just the toll that it takes. I have I read on the Hospitality Family site that and I'll read it. Did you see this from the Hilton New Orleans Riverside? So they say, we understand that last week was difficult and created some hardships for our team members. Hilton and our owners have decided to help relieve some of the stress and have graciously decided to compensate team members for the hours they were scheduled to work for the pay week, 8:30 through 9/5. So they paid their people for the week that they were not able to work. The Hilton,
unheard of.
the Hilton New Orleans Riverside. I mean, how awesome is that?
I have chills right now, by the way.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I didn't see that. This is news to me.
Yeah.
Talk about doing the right thing.
Come on.
Talk about doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's a huge move in the right direction.
Seriously.
Huge.
Those owners should be like, I mean, that's really awesome on the ownership of that property. And I don't know, like, I would love to know, like, how that conversation happened, like who initiated it.
Sure. Right.
And like, also, because that's a large hotel, like that's
that's
a big box, corporate managed hotel. So it's not like you have like I don't think so. You probably wouldn't have like a family, like a mom and pop, like a, Indian American family or somebody owning the hotel. You probably have a some sort of organization, like a real estate investment trust or some sort of somebody with a lot of money, some organization with a lot of money who owns this. So how do you, like, that's why it seems like off the cuff to me, because like normally, like if it was a family, then it's more personal. So they might be able to like have that conversation amongst themselves and be like, okay, we're going to make this decision. But like with a big hotel like that, who's the one who gets to decide and say, we're going to pay everybody? I don't know, but at the end of the day, great decision, I think. And
great decision. And it's the only one that I've seen. So I don't know if other people are going to follow suit, but good on them.
Yeah. And well, and I think that kind of lends itself to, and I was just having this conversation with somebody last week, that in our industry, being in the pandemic, there has been just a huge exodus of people away from hospitality.
Yeah.
And even as the industry is starting to rebuild, in some cases, the talent is not there because people aren't coming back. You know, you have people that have given 20, 30 years to hospitality,
Mhm.
and then the first sign of trouble, bye-bye to you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so now that it's time to start bringing people back, those same people, they figured out, and I mean, just a note from Dr. Jeffrey, they figured out I can work for Amazon, I can work
Mhm.
for Instacart, you know,
Mhm.
I don't have to be doing this. I have some options.
Yeah.
So for Hilton New Orleans Riverside to stand up and say, hey, we're going to do right by you, we're going to do the right thing here, that's a huge flex
Yeah.
to their employees, a huge
Yeah.
flex to say, like, you know what, a year ago we did this, but you
Mhm.
know what, we recognize, and you know, it's time for correction.
Yeah.
So good on them.
That is, yeah, that's like we're not going to make the same mistake twice because
Yeah.
we need you guys and we love you guys. So, and another thing that I don't know if you guys saw this, because the one thing that I saw on them on that hotel was that they actually had to close. They suspended operations after Hurricane Ida.
Ah.
So not only did they have to close down again,
Mhm. Mhm.
but they still decided to pay
To
their
pay.
employees,
Mhm.
even though like there's no way in hell they're getting any revenue.
No
And they're
revenue.
probably going through like a huge insurance claims process right now. And like they might have to go into some capital reserves to pay for stuff that insurance may not be covering in terms of damage and stuff like that. Just more stress on ownership and corporate
Mhm.
office and executive committee, all these factors going in. But part of that plan was, well, we still got to pay our employees. That's
Yeah.
number one. And I just think that's just awesome, especially considering the context of what their hotel's going through.
Yeah.
Yet again, another closure for that hotel.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's awesome.
So the last topic I want to bring up is this we have the leisure traveler that's been out and about. I know you've probably seen some folks having meltdowns on planes and things like that. And what is our responsibility as hospitalitarians when we have these guests in the hotel? I don't want to say demanding. I mean, they're coming for the experience. They've been cooped up for a couple years and they're getting out, they're coming to the hotel and the pool is closed on Labor Day. And so, and the pool was closed on Labor Day because we had, you know, these families from, you know, from wherever, and we needed to service it. And that was the day. So, and the other clients did not want to mix with the other guests. So you have those clients coming down, and then just in general. So like I go to Vegas to a resort, and a couple of the restaurants were closed. So people are having meltdowns because they're not getting everything that they thought they were going to get or that they paid for. How do we take care of them and, you know, and satisfy them and still allow our staff to have some modicum of dignity when they're being screamed at about something?
It's such a mixed bag.
Yeah.
I mean, I really feel like it's such a mixed bag.
Yeah.
There are, like, you know, it's like we can't make excuses for it.
Yeah.
Because it is what it is. You know, we've been apologizing for it for
Yeah.
the past year. So
Mhm.
how, you know, how long can we apologize? You know,
Mhm.
it's, but at the same time, what is the solution? You know, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want to be hollered at.
Yeah.
I hate to see people dogging out the front desk.
Oh my
You know,
God. Yeah. It's awful.
yeah, I'm never going to be okay with that. I don't
Yeah.
care what happened, I'm never going to be okay with that. But I mean, it's such a mixed bag
Yeah,
because
because there's a balance.
what do
There's a
you
balance
do?
between the guest satisfaction and supporting your team, you know.
Mhm.
And you don't, and the guest is going to leave and they may come back, but you have to work with that team member and you want them to, you know, continue to respect you and to know that you have their back when somebody is acting an ass at the front desk. It's like, it doesn't take all that, bro. Well, how are you going to
Yeah,
compensate me?
I kind of like,
Here's the door.
because like Nikki, you're like, what is the solution, right? It's like,
Mhm.
that's really what the question that I've been trying to think about, because I've really been like just trying to like really think about like what we can do about this.
Mhm.
And like I kind of think it's a little bit of a bigger, like there is the one solution is like at the property level, right?
Mhm.
Like with the GM and that team member and that guest,
Mhm.
those individual circumstances.
Yeah.
But the other side of it, which I think is a little bit maybe more important to the long-term prosperity, is like, what are we going to do to, as a entire industry, like where is everybody coming together to be like, okay, we're going to raise rates now, like the like exponentially raise rates, as one example of something that could be done. Like, because if that 109 ADR, when wages were $11 an hour and
Mhm.
occupancy was consistent at 65%, and we had that base and like everything was fine back then, and that was what consumers were paying, and that's what everybody's used to. But now wages are $15 or $16. We're dealing with peaks and valleys in occupancy,
Mhm.
which is causing us to not have as much predictability in business patterns.
Yeah.
And not to mention that the guest who's staying with us now, especially if you're at a full service hotel, they may not be utilizing the auxiliary amenities, or their trev par, the total revenue per available room, is probably
Mhm.
lower with those people than if you were a corporate traveler.
Yeah.
Because part of it is like, okay, if you're complaining that there's no restaurant, were you really going to even utilize that amenity anyway? Number one. And number two, even if you did utilize that amenity, like what was it going to be, a $30 or $40 check size? Like that's not going to keep the restaurant.
Yeah.
So I think we really need to think about like what's the solution on a bigger term. There's also like, I'm not the guy to talk about this with, but I would love to actually, maybe we all need to get in touch with these new food and beverage concepts, because I think that's another thing, is like,
Yeah.
what's the biggest, there was a survey actually, like JD Power guest satisfaction survey for hotels, and they have like 6 categories, and food and beverage literally dragged like the entire overall satisfaction of the guest perception of the hotel industry down like dramatically, just from the food and beverage concept alone. And this was a recent survey, like last week, I think I saw it. So we need to come up with like, how the hell do we manage food and beverage in hotels moving forward? Whether it's comp food and beverage, like breakfast, like, the Residence Inn style breakfast, or your traditional complimentary breakfast options. Like where I was at, I was like Embassy Suites, which is like the king of free shit for guests. It's like free cook to order omelets. You got all this huge buffet stuff, with
amazing.
the breakfast consisting of like actual staff, like servers and stuff that actually will help you. Then you have complimentary snacks and alcoholic beverages in the evening time. It's additional square footage. Every room is a 2-room suite, like all this value. And I'm like sitting here like as a GM, and I'm like, how are we supposed to do that? Like, how are we supposed to really like be profitable in a situation like this, and also have the guest scores reflect the experience that they're
That's
so
it right there.
it's all about the expectation. So I
Mhm.
think we need to reevaluate food and beverage again. I wish I could be that guy to do that.
Yeah.
It's not going to be me right now, but food and beverage is critical. We got to look at that. And then in terms of like what we were talking about on like with the guests and the team at the front desk, like when this is happening now, because reevaluating the industry-wide F&B concepts and rolling all this out is going to take a long time. So we
Yeah.
got to figure out what we're going to do now. You know, and from the guest side, I found that, you know, coming from the worst embassy suites on the planet Earth, I had to apologize to a lot of guests.
Yeah.
And I found that really just like authenticity goes a long way. Like guests are so used to hearing like the canned like customer service responses that we're all trained to provide. Like you can tell when somebody's going through a formula. Like I'm trying to even think of like how somebody might do it, but like, you know, thank you so much for bringing this to my attention. Unfortunately, in lieu of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have temporarily suspended breakfast operations to ensure our staff and guest safety. And then like the guests are literally just like, I don't give a shit. Like you guys suck.
Right. Their eyes glaze over. They don't care. Yeah.
But if you're like, if you go to the guests and you're like almost more upset about it than they are, like, like I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like I understand that, just like we talked about, I understand that you have been like yearning for this like experience for so long, and like you come here with your family, you're paying the same rate that you're used to paying pre-COVID, and it's not aligning with the expectation that you had. You know, I understand how damaging this must be for your experience, and like just literally just pour your heart out to that guest.
Well, what are you going to give me? What are you going to do?
Right. Throw some points at me like they're candy. That's what I want.
So you might like,
and I'm
honestly,
okay with the points. I am okay with the points.
Like I think like
okay
if you need to compensate somebody, like just do it. Like that doesn't mean that you have to give them a free room every time. But one of the things that I found is like, and like again, pulling from my embassy suites experience, I'm like, listen, here's my name, here's my card, here's my information. I want you to come back, and I'm going to do something for you when you come back.
Yeah.
Like we're going to make sure that you get a really taken care of, if not a complimentary stay upon your return. Right. But call me first and I will let you know if you should stay here or not. Right. It was something I did. I was like, literally like, if you call and say, hey, I'm ready to come in this, and I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be happy, or I'm going to tell you, you're going to really love what we've done with the place. Come back and we're going to take care of you. Yeah. Because I would tell them like, listen, I'll either tell you to stay here or I'll recommend you a place that I know for sure is doing better, so that your experience is going to work out. Yeah. And they usually are like, wait, like a selfless act, like you're not just trying to take my money and rob me. And like, because people are so like, they think that everybody's trying to get over on them, take advantage of them. And it's like, no, if you just show them that your heart is in the right place, they're going to be okay. And maybe sometimes they're not. And at that point, get the hell out of here, man. Yeah. We don't need you.
Right. And that's hospitality.
Like you said, just being authentic. Being honest. Yeah. Being honest. And honest with them about it. And it's like, you know, if you wanted that, this might not have been the place for you to stay to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes just being real about it. If you were like,
and it's okay to say that, right?
I do.
Totally okay.
Okay. I'm just saying, because
if you're looking for the beach, then you're not staying with me, because you know, it's like, come on, this is not even your hotel that you wanted to be at. So
we have one guy that has complained. He's been here a week, and he's literally complained about everything every day, down to the way somebody looks that works at the front desk. I don't like the way that guy looks. And, you know, some of it, you know, was valid. Okay. His key didn't work on the back door. So, okay. You know, those things we can work on.
And that guy at the front desk, he is kind of ugly, right? So it's
right.
Like,
I mean,
okay.
you know, so yeah.
I wanted the Brad Pitt guy, you know.
Exactly. And you know, the switch on the grill doesn't work or something like that. So I mean, you know, maintenance issues, yes, I totally get it. But I mean, like every single day. So he came down and it was Friday before I left. And he was talking to the front desk agent about his key again. And she mentioned, you know, have you tried it in your room? And he just blew up. He blew up and, you know, he started screaming. So I come out of my office and she's talking to him and everything, you know, she's interacted with him every day that he's been there. So I let her handle it just to see what was going to happen. And she came back to me at my office. She says, Miss Robin, he's going to come back, watch, and he's going to apologize. And I said, you think so? She says, yeah, I can already tell. So 5 minutes later, he says, can I have 2 towels for the pool? She gave him the towels and he says, I just want to apologize. I'm really sorry. She was like, oh no, you can keep that. So I was like, I heard the way he spoke to her and I'm looking at, and when I look at her, I'm looking at me at the front desk, you know, 30 years ago going, I would have done the same thing. Because, you know, had he spoke to me that way. So I'm thinking, she was justified because he was, you know, she says, you don't have to ask me for anything. You know, she says, I'm going to help you because that's my job, but you don't have to, don't come back to me with an apology that I don't accept it. You can keep it. So I was just like, whew, I'll let the GM handle that one.
That's interesting. Like,
yeah.
And she still took care of him. She asked for the towels. Here you go. Yeah. This is what we're going to do for you. Mm-hmm. But in terms of an apology, it's almost like, listen, you're doing this to make yourself feel better.
Yeah, exactly.
Not because you actually want me to feel any better about it. Because if you really did care about me, you would have either stopped yourself in that moment or apologized right then and there or something like, I'm not going to give you the privilege of soothing your own conscience over like what you did. So I mean, I don't know. I'm probably one of those people who probably would have said, I accept your apology. Thank you. And like because I'm like a peacemaker, like I'm a non-confrontational person. I really don't like that, but I respect her for doing that. I really, really do. And that's kind of, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, I'm not accepting your apology.
Yeah, I let her have that moment. And that's why I was thinking I wanted to bring it to the table. Like, ooh, you know, I was like, ooh, that's me right there. But like I said, how do we, you know, we have to have the associates maintain some form of dignity. They need to be able to, you know, say, you know what, I'm not going to let you speak to me that way. And they need to feel supported. So that's like the other part of it. How do we make sure that they are supported? Back in the day, we used to have the training, you know, with Marriott where they had the little scenarios and you'd go watch the video with the, you know, the horrible guest interaction. And this is how you should handle it. But we don't do that anymore. We hire somebody, we bring them to the front desk and it's like, okay, here's the PMS. Here's the phone. You're going to be training with Kyle and you're going to watch Kyle and that's your training. And they don't have any idea on how to handle, you know, good or bad situations. They're just there to do a job, which goes back to the whole being noble.
Yeah. And I think you're right. It is a training issue because, and then too, I mean, you think about, we've been in this business for a long time. People, the guests and the type of guests that's showing up right now is not the guests that those videos address.
Right.
You know, you've got people coming in doing things, saying things that 15, 20 years ago, you couldn't even imagine a guest approaching the desk and acting like that, or, you know, some of the antics that happen. And I mean, I think too, of course, we're never going to endorse a front desk agent, you know, being rude or disrespectful.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Yeah.
But at that same time, you know, we do have to have their backs. You know, we had a guest yelling at a front desk person because I think he had like 6 rooms on his credit card. It was like $3,000. And the guy was yelling and he's like, I've got $3,000 on my credit card. And she goes, I know, I'm looking at it. and I was laughing, guilty. But it's like sometimes you got to match that energy. And then he calmed down.
That's the point. Yeah.
She matched that energy that he was given. And then he calmed down and they went through and, she explained it to him and he was fine. But I mean, when do you give it back to him?
It's a delicate balance. It really is. And I'm not saying that I want I don't want the hotel folks to go after guests. That's not what I want. But I want people to want to come to work. Yeah. That's the bottom line. I want people to want to come to work and not be like, I read this thing on the Facebook hospitality family. And I'm just like, oh my God, because this is where they go to vent. 60,000 people are going to vent there. You may have some that are like really like looking for jobs and some that are promoting, hey, I got a job or whatever. But for the most part, people are just like literally venting about working 16-hour days and how somebody yelled at them, or how this one story that I have here is, have you ever canceled a booking on a guest before the guest arrives? She's got like this wedding party. Did you see that one?
I didn't see it, but
that one's awesome.
Yeah. Explain that to Kyle, Niki. Yeah, because it's a good one.
So this, I think the person, they were either the GM or the FOM, one of those, but there was a wedding room block at their hotel, and this guest had called and they wanted to check in early. Then they wanted to use the pool 2 hours after they checked out of the hotel.
4 days after.
Oh, 4 days after. They wanted to come back. That's right. They wanted to come back to the hotel and use the pool. And they justified it. It was because they paid to use the pool, but they couldn't use it during their stay. So they wanted to come back and use it.
Yeah. Hire a DJ and whole nine.
Yeah. Just and like this person had all these requests. And the kicker was the guests hadn't even stayed yet.
They're not even there yet. So it's still to come. So they have all these requests and demands. And so they're like, if the guest is yelling and cursing at the staff before they get there, what's it going to be like when they're on property? Because I don't even know when this is, but it's coming up. So she just put this up there yesterday, I think. Yeah. And a couple of days ago.
She's like, would I be within my right to go ahead and cancel their reservation before, just to head it off? How do we head this off?
Because you already know it's going to be a cluster. And
I think yes.
I would say so too.
I think yes. I think yes, for sure.
You need to comment and put an F for following. So when she updates it, we can see.
So I can see.
Oh, for sure. I'm gonna go and seek that out. But yeah, I would say yes. Like, we have to protect. This is another solution, like protecting, like, because it's usually a surprise. But if we know that something's a problem, let's proactively.
That's it.
Protect the sanctuary of our team.
Right.
Protect our product, protect our owners, because the owners are going to be impacted by this guaranteed. And like, what kind of operators would we be if we didn't do something about this to our ownership? What kind of management and leaders would we be if we didn't protect our team from this? And also the sanctity of the other guests' experience, because that's going to impact them as well. So it's literally like nobody's going to win in this situation. So let's just, and I think you would just say something like, from what it sounds like, I don't believe that, our property is going to be able to suit your needs.
It's not the right fit.
Yeah, it's not you, it's me.
The pool is closed that week.
Based on what you're looking for, and we want you to enjoy your stay. This just may not be the right place.
This may not be the right.
Right. And then it's like, how do you in good conscience recommend another hotel knowing what they're going to be going through?
Yeah. I don't
But
know.
I think
just,
you do have to like
Mm.
literally what I've had to do in the past is literally recommend like a Forbes 5-star hotel for some people to stay. I'm like if you're staying at like a regular, you know, Hilton Hotels and Resorts brand, for example, like a flagship brand, you know, and it's full service, but it's still a 3-star hotel at the end of the day. And you want robes and slippers and custom in every room. You want in-room massages. You want 24-hour in-room dining. You want all this stuff. And it's like, you are literally what you're searching for is a Forbes 5-star hotel because they have to do those things.
Or do you just let them make it? It's like, okay, it's 4 days. It's the pool. Come up with a solution. Okay. You do like the Marquee downtown, you go and you get a pool pass for the day. Do you charge them? I mean,
you're the
there's
voice
a
of
way.
reason. What about, here we are talking about hospitality. Have we ever thought about just accommodating them?
That's what I was thinking. I'm like,
so that's an option too.
How about it? It's like, what else is going on where, I mean, I think just because they've called and they've been, you know, cursing and stuff like that. It's a matter of just, I know it's a wedding. So it's the most important day of somebody's life.
Right.
They're stressed out, they've overspent, and you're giving them, there's an obstacle here that you're creating. You're creating some more stress for them. So maybe just give it to them. Have a conversation.
Robin, I love you. You're the most hospitable person.
I get ahead of it.
Get ahead of it. Yeah, there's a way to manage
coming.
it.
Let's get ahead of it.
And I think they would appreciate that rather than the pushback, right?
Well, and like let's pull a page from Christine Trippi's book, literally her book. Yes is the answer.
Yes,
let's not say no to this guest. What can we do for them?
What can we do?
Okay, so maybe we know that this is going to be a little bit too much, but we're going to make sure that, okay, well, you know what? You're not guests during this time that you're coming back to use the pool. So what we're going to do is allow you to utilize the pool after the traditional guest hours are over. And we're going to put a sign on the door that says private event. So then the other guests know there's a reason why there's people in the pool after hours. So we're protecting.
Sell it as banquet space.
Yes, I mean, right.
You know,
And then you could say, well, you
rental.
know what? What you're paying for is to stay in the hotel. You know, if you want to come in here and you want to have food and you want to have a DJ, what you're really doing is you wouldn't be able to do this for what your price was for the room because it's public pool space.
Right.
You want to rent it as a private event, it's $150 rental fee, you know, or depending on what the hotel was, I'm assuming it's a select service hotel, so they don't have catering anyway, but you could say outside catering fee, $75, whatever you want to make it. And then just, they probably go ahead and say yes, because there's no other place in the world that will even come close to that level of reason.
Like, I mean, and just offer that, and then just give them the best service that you can give them. I'm going to go back because I want to see what some of the other comments are. Because I'm interested. Kyle, take us out on a positive note as we leave. You are like one of the top 50 most influential hospitality voices in the USA. So we want to hear from you as we close out.
Okay, well, no pressure. Well, I guess my my ending note of positivity is just a full circle reminder on what we talked about at the top of the program, because I think that's what everybody needs to be reminding themselves of constantly. Think of your hotel as more than just a cash flow, but a major component to your community. And think of your job as a noble profession in hospitality. You are doing God's work every day that you come into your hotel, whether you think of it that way or not. And you should think of it that way, because we're feeding people, we're housing people, we're relieving their anxiety every day, we're welcoming them in
every day.
That's so noble, that's so godly. Like, just think of it that way. And I think that's how I'll take one step further. That's how we solve the hiring crisis, is by perpetuating this narrative, because this is another thing from my podcast with Dr. Jeffrey O. there's an existential crisis in the world right now. Everybody says, what's the point? Life has no meaning. We have a global pandemic. There's people dying in Afghanistan. There's natural disasters. You know, politics is all crazy. Like everybody just thinks, what's the point? And they don't want to work for the man to make somebody rich and work for pennies. Okay, let's just calm down. Let's reevaluate. If you're looking for meaning in your life, you can find that in a hotel. You can find that in hospitality. You can find that in service for others. And it's noble to do this for free, to not get paid to do this. It's very noble. This can almost be volunteering that you're getting paid for. Truly, if you're that selfless about it and you really look at it, that you're making a difference in your community, because you're making a difference in your community. It's like you're volunteering, but somebody's paying you for it. We have to attach meaning to our jobs, especially when the meaning is true and the meaning is profound and it's significant and it's not a lie and it's not a fabrication. So let's start talking to our new hires about this who are coming into the industry for the first time, so they will stay and they'll think, wow, my job is noble. I am making a difference. I'm working at a mecca in the community that's unlike any other, that cannot be replicated. And I'm doing God's work. So yeah, that's what we do here in hospitality, guys. So yeah, I think that's pretty positive. I love it. I can go work in a hotel and feel great just keeping that in the top of my mind every day.
I love that.
Awesome.
Thank you so much again, Kyle, for being with us. We love you.
Thank you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the very end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really, really love Niki and Robin, so show them some love. In the links below, you can check out Don't Look Under the Bed, a hospitality podcast, along with Niki and Robin's individual LinkedIn profile. So go and check that out. And while you're there, check the link to all the Hospitality MD social media accounts and make sure to follow us there so you can see behind the scenes and other types of content that you don't see here on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave this video a thumbs up, give us a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks again. We'll see you next week. Peace.